This is your life, and this, the Royal Albert Hall, where those celebrities and the children are rehearsing for a special concert here tonight in aid of the National Children's Home and in honour of the charity's new chairman. Now, celebrities helping him out are also going to help me spring a certain surprise. Nerys Hughes, Iris Williams, Frank Topping, Norman Beaton, Shan Phillips, Fiona Kennedy, Angela Rippon and Richard Briers. And I think the man I'm expecting is arriving. He is in fact, right, he is in fact a Welsh miner's son who was born into poverty and hardship, but yet reached one of the highest posts in the land and was recently honoured with a peerage. He has said of himself, it's amazing what God can do to a lad from the Rhondda with a patch on his trousers. Well, it's amazing what he's done. And I'm going to try and get close to him now without him seeing, but that may not be too easy because he's well known for his eagle eye. But here we go.
Harold! Isn't that marvelous? Who is from Nottingham?
May I shout three famous words? Order, order, order. Because I want to say to your new chairman, the Right Honourable George Thomas, now Viscount Tonypandy, tonight, this is your life.
I don't believe it. I know you, but I don't believe it.
We have some great stories to tell, and we want to steal them away and bring them back well in time for the wonderful concert for the National Children's Home.
I don't know what to say.
Lord Tonypandy, that welcome speaks for itself. He still doesn't believe it's true. So I want to say, of course, my thanks for helping me spring that surprise to your famous friends here who are giving their services to that concert later tonight in aid of the National Children's Home. Thank you. Now, Richard, I know that George here is a great fan of your hit television series, The Good Life, and you've been his guest at the House of Commons, haven't you?
Yes, indeed. I saw George in his wonderful outfit, his costume and his buckle shoes, and I thought to myself, what a wonderful part. That's a really good part. George, you played that part to perfection. You played it with great dignity and, above all, great humour. And anyone who can get a good laugh in the House of Commons in this day and age, they deserve every honour they can get. But, and you got it. But you needn't have bothered to take it because you've always been a very noble man.
Oh, here.
Well, George, a former co-star of Richard's, is another great fan of yours. She has to be on stage at the Queen's Theatre, but if you look at that screen, she'd like a word with you. Penelope Keith.
Hello, Eamon. Hello, George. Both Roddy and I are very sorry we can't be with you tonight. He's fighting crime, and as you see, I'm here in the dressing room waiting to go on to do hay fever, hence the hair. We've had such smashing times together, I remember especially the first time you ever invited us to dinner at the house, at your speaker's house. We had a smashing dinner with about 7 or 8 of us, and I remember afterwards you said, would we like to go into the House of Commons itself and see some of the proceedings? And I was very excited by this. We went up into the Strangers' Gallery and sat there, and suddenly there was a hush over the house, and everyone rose, and in you came, preceded by the mace, and you processed to your chair, you sat down very imperiously, looked up to the gallery, saw us there and waved and said, hello! Dear memory. Do have a lovely time tonight, and we'd hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Penelope Keith. Well, Viscount Tonypandy, this is your life, and you were born on January 29th, 1909 in the Rhondda Valley in South Wales, where your father was a miner. But he cracked under the strain of survival and left home, leaving your mother to struggle to bring up 5 children single-handed, taking in sewing and working all hours of the day and night. Now, when your elder brother Emrys goes to work down the pit at the age of just 13, it means you can stay on at school until you're 18, instead of having to go down the pit too.
And Uncle George, there was no one prouder of your achievements than your elder brother, my father, Emrys.
Your nephew Arthur and the rest of his family, brother Ken and sister Marlene. And here too, your late sister Ada's children, Bruce, John, Reggie, Dorothy and Radie. Alas, Arthur, your father didn't live long enough to see his brother George here reach the pinnacle of his achievement, did he?
No, Eamon. He passed away at 56 with a miner's complaint.
Chest.
Mm-hmm. Well, George, with your brothers and sisters, school days began here at Treolo Infant School, a humble starting place for your pursuit of an academic career.
That wasn't all you pursued, George. You were always chasing the girls.
She was in your class at school 70 years ago, here with her husband Cyril, Olive Gwyther. Olive, tell us about Mr. Speaker chasing the girls, will you?
Oh,
Yeah, be
Yeah,
careful. They're all
yes.
watching.
I know. But he used to chase the girls, well, I included, in the playground.
Yes.
And the girls used to chase you too, George. And we were very disappointed if you didn't chase us.
I must have been a good runner.
And remember the picnics we had?
Oh,
Down
yes.
Planchison.
Down Planchison.
Remember the charabans with the canvas
Easter
cut-ups?
Monday.
Oh, I know.
Singing festival.
And we were very disappointed if we didn't come in your coat. I know.
Dr. Gwyther, you first met George when you were a Methodist minister at Tonypandy Central Horn, and you organised a political forum which you called a men's parliament.
Yes, it was a remarkable company of men, and George made many sparkling speeches. We saw in him what he afterwards became, a crusading politician, a statesman, a speaker. And George, for your former companions, past and present, we salute you.
Thank you, Dr. and Olive Gwyther. Well, now, though it's an emotional wrench to leave your beloved Wales, you seize on a 30 shillings a week teaching job at Dagenham in Essex. Then, when you'd saved enough money, you go to University College Southampton, where you're not slow to let them know the plight of the miners back home. It's interesting to recall the nickname the students gave you all those years ago.
Lord Tonypandy. It's true.
But it's happily back to Wales when you become a teacher at Roath Park School, Cardiff, and a leading light in the National Union of Teachers. Then you're asked to fight the 1945 election as Labour candidate for Cardiff Central and win. And if you look at that screen, someone else recalls that day equally vividly, for he was the newly elected member for Cardiff South, later to become Prime Minister, the Right Honourable James Callaghan.
Good evening, Eamon. Hello, George. If I may reuse the words of the old song, George, we've been together now for 40 years and it don't seem a day too long. But I'm sure on that day when you and I were first elected and outside the City Hall in Cardiff, they carried you and me. Do you remember they carried us on their shoulders? I must say you and I have never been carried on their shoulders after an election since, but it was a wonderful day. I don't think you thought you were going to be Speaker then. I certainly didn't think I was going to be Prime Minister, but so it turned out, and we've had a wonderful time together. Good luck, George, and many more years together.
Thank you, James Callaghan. George, you've friends and admirers throughout the South Wales valleys, none more so than another famous Welshman whom you invited round for dinner when you were Mr. Speaker, but he failed to turn up, or so you thought.
Sorry I'm late, Mr. Speaker. I went to the wrong house.
Yeah, we were talking about him a moment ago. He's here tonight. Yes, the man who makes the valleys ring with laughter, Max Boyce. He was talking about you with affection a few moments ago, and I had to keep my face straight because he'd no idea you were here. But why were you late for dinner? What happened?
Well, as you know, this dinner was very proud to be asked to go along, but it was the same day as the France-Wales Rugby International. So, so I said that, well, I'd missed the last 10 minutes to catch a train so I could get there. But with 10 minutes to go, Wales are losing 8-7, and we were pressing right on the French line, so there's no way I could go. So I missed my train, and I finally got there, and I went to the Speaker's house, and they finished the first course, and they were on the middle of the main course, and I sort of knocked on the door, and I was very embarrassed, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm late, I'm awfully sorry, and explained where I'd been, and he said, don't you worry, boy, he said, you've got your priorities right, he said. He said, no, he said, what you witnessed at Cardiff, he said, can never again be recaptured. But soup, he said, soup can be warmed up time and time again.
Thank you, Max Boyce. From the moment you're elected, George, you set about your parliamentary work with relish, becoming Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State at the Home Office, then Minister of State for Wales. But your joy turns to anguish when, on October 21st, 1966, you're in your Cardiff office when you hear news that stuns the nation with grief. And within minutes, you're speeding from Cardiff to the village of Aberfan to give whatever comfort and solace you can at these scenes of appalling disaster. A waste tip from a pit has collapsed, tragically engulfing the Pantglas School with the loss of 116 young lives. With you there, the Prime Minister, he had in fact been one of the first to recognise your parliamentary talents, and as you'll see on that screen, has some special memories about your career. Harold Wilson, now Lord Wilson.
Hello, Eamon. Well, George, I remember the time when I was forming the first government I headed, and I asked you to come and see me, and to offer you the job of Under-Secretary of State in the Home Office. You'll remember I said, I want you to bring some humanity into the place. Perhaps I was a little unfair, but you certainly did humanize them. Then when I'd offered you the job in the cabinet room at number 10, I said, George, haven't you forgotten something? You said, didn't I say thank you? And I said, no, what you've forgotten is to ring up Mam, your dear old Mam, whom we all loved, and she always entertained us when we went to Cardiff. And then when Labour came back into office, you remember I sent for you. I asked you to take the number 3 post, Deputy Speaker. This you did, George, and I'm not just expressing my own view, I'm expressing the view of hundreds of members of Parliament that without any doubt you were the best Speaker in living memory.
Thank you, Lord Wilson. George, Lord Wilson mentioned your late mother there, and indeed you talked about her on the way from the Albert Hall. She was a great influence on your career. She lived to be 91, you told me.
91. And people used to ask me, do you mind if I say? People used to ask me, what's the secret of Mum's great age? And I said, co-op food and Methodist faith. It was a good blend.
Well, alas, your mother was no longer with us when on the 3rd of February 1976 you were appointed Speaker of the House of Commons, an historic post dating back to the 14th century, and here you are on your very first day as Mr. Speaker. The boy from Tonypandy, without the patch in his trousers anymore, becomes the honoured occupant of these historic rooms at the Palace of Westminster. The Speaker's rooms with paintings of your predecessors and their coats of arms. Now your portrait hangs there too, and your coat of arms featuring the crown and portcullis sign of the House of Commons, surmounted by a miner's lamp. The motto is in Welsh, George, which says what?
Bid Ben, bid Bont. He who would be a leader must be a bridge to bring people together. It's from the Mabinogion. It's a good one for the Speaker, isn't it?
It is, and you were in that office, you were that bridge for 8 years, winning the respect and affection of members of Parliament of every political shade of opinion, not excluding the Prime Minister herself, who, alas, unable to be here in person, asked us if we could remind you of her opinion of you, expressed on television in Wales very recently.
George, there's one thing I want to say to you. I count myself very lucky that I was Prime Minister when you were Speaker, because we're never going to have a better Speaker in the House of Commons. Never. And we got on marvellously together, and I hope that we tried to keep the standards up.
That's the esteem in which you were held by the Prime Minister. During your years as an MP, George, you've made friends with people from your beloved Wales whose careers brought them to London too, including, I know, a world-famous sportsman, former Wales and British Lions rugby captain, now head of outside broadcasts of the BBC, Cliff Morgan. Oh, Cliff.
He comes 3 miles from my own home, that's right.
Well, Cliff, you've seen George, of course, in sparkling form on all sorts of occasions, including the House of Commons.
My favourite thing about you, George, in the House of Commons is when the Merseyside MP was standing up and speaking with that lovely, rounded, rich Scouse accent. And he was interrupted by a Scottish member who said, I can't understand a word this fellow says. And there was a row because he was incensed, you know, all the people. And suddenly you stood up with the majesty of your position, and everyone was quiet, and you said, this house has many, many accents. I wish I had one myself. Thank you for the laughter, the delight, the joy, and the concern you've given, and the inspiration to lots of people, and perhaps above all else, that enrichment of the spirit which you have given to so many for so long.
Thank you, Cliff Morgan. Thank you. Well, Max Boyce there, of course, arrived late for one of your famous dinners. Another famous Welshman almost arrived too early. Now, he has to be in another part of the world tonight, but on the screen recalls the very moment you greeted him that night, Sir Harry Seacombe.
Yes. Hello, George. Surprise, surprise. Now, I remember when I was invited to have dinner with you at the Commons, in your chambers, just mine and myself and my MP and his wife. And when we got there, you were getting ready to go downstairs to do your job. And you're all dressed up in your full regalia. And I said to you then, you needn't have gone to all this trouble just for me, George. And you got the grace to laugh. Then afterwards, when we'd finished dinner, we went to the window, and you looked down at the Thames from this magnificent apartment you have in the Commons, and you said, it's not bad for a miner's son, is it? And I had to agree. And now you're Viscount Tonypandy, and I remember sending you a telegram this year from Australia, saying to you, that's what you get for being a high-fidelity speaker. And you were. And God bless you.
Thank you, Sir Harry Seacombe. Tonight would certainly not be complete without mention of one of the proudest moments of your proud career, the date July the 1st, 1969, when, as Secretary of State for Wales at the investiture of Prince Charles as Prince of Wales, the miner's son greets Queen Elizabeth II at Carnarvon and escorts her son to Carnarvon Castle for the ceremony.
I chwi, ddarfod I ni wnaed a chwe, a thrwy ein llythyr hwn.
Not only a great day for you, George, but for your proud mother, who was later to be invited on board the royal yacht and meet Her Majesty the Queen in person. Now, tonight I have a personal message for you from His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales himself, and here it is. I suspect that on these sort of occasions, the atmosphere is one of mixed pleasure and embarrassment. I can only add to the embarrassment by sending my warmest good wishes to one of the most distinguished speakers this country has ever known in its long and proud history. His humor and humanity, his kindness and generosity of spirit, and his devotion to the great democratic traditions of this nation have endeared Lord Tonypandy to countless numbers of people throughout the Commonwealth. I can only say that apart from the great pleasure I have always had in knowing the noble Viscount, ever since he was Secretary of State for Wales, and I but a mere whippersnapper, it has also been a source of pride to have lived in the same century as such a notable Welshman. Long may he continue to warm our hearts with his wit and humanity. Charles. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. But George, we couldn't close tonight without mention of one other person very special to you, someone who followed in your footsteps as a teacher, the only child of your youngest brother, Ivor. She married a French local government officer and today lives and teaches in Bourges in France. There she is, at the home of her family, but not there tonight. She's here, the niece who's like a daughter to you, Tydfil. And with her, her husband, Philippe, and children Muriel and Étienne. Tydfil, tell us your abiding memory of Lord Tonypandy or Uncle George.
Well, when I was a very small child, Mama used to take me up to Pandy to visit Nana and Uncle George. And Mama hardly had the time to take my bonnet and my coat off before Uncle George would whip me into the sitting room and we'd both go to sleep and I'd be wrapped in his arms.
Now, George, you know only too well, George, thousands of children are desperately in need of that kind of care and affection, which is why you've become the new chairman of the National Children's Home. Now, tonight's special concert for that caring charity begins very shortly and you'll be there. But first and finally, joined by the children from your old school in Tonypandy, 4,000 voices there at the Royal Albert Hall with your favorite hymn. The Right Honourable Viscount Tonypandy, this is your lecture. you.